Hello everyone, it's Gareth from Trustlinks, which must of course mean it's Friday. Happy Friday everybody, nice to see you all. I'm coming live from a different location today. I'm over at Trustlinks Rochford, home of our recovery college, and I'm currently sat in the training room. It's giving me a bit extra space to be able to create what we're going to create today. Some of you may have seen that we're taking part in the One Southend live festival today. So if you're watching from there, welcome, hello. Please check out our Trustlinks live page. There's lots of videos from the last 10, 11 weeks. Many things to do with well-being, arts and crafts, gardening, a bit of everything. So please do check that out afterwards if you're new to the page. Today I am going to be making some lanterns out of old jars. So these could be, the ones I'm using are actually coffee jars, similar to the sort of bottled candle type things that you get, but you can also use jam jars, any sort of jars that you've got available. We can use that to make it fit. So I'm going to be doing two different types today, depending on what sort of resources you've got available to you. There should hopefully be something that everyone can get involved with, whether it's one of the first type that I'll make with the silhouette in, or one of the next ones. So without any further ado, I'm going to start off by showing you the first one. So I'm going to start with, good morning Clive, just seeing you pop up. I'm going to start with your empty jar and see if there's any labels or anything. Give it a good soak, give it a good scrub, make sure it's clean and dry before we're starting. So what we will need is your jars. We're going to need some PVA glue, a paintbrush, paintbrush for your glue, and some tissue paper, which is just over here, ready in front of me. So the first jar I'm going to show you is a silhouette jar, which we're going to cover with tissue paper. So first of all, what I decided that I was going to do today was make a bit of a fairy tale theme. So I started with a little stencil of a fairy sitting down, which is going to sit inside your jar, like so. Now, as you can see, I have pre-cut this stencil. Good morning, Matt. Hi, Georgina. Nice to see you all. I printed this one off the internet, and then so I stuck it down onto a piece of card, and as best I could, cut round the edge with some scissors, and as you can probably see from that one, I've cut out the details of the wings and the details in there, which I did with a craft knife. Now I appreciate not everyone will have access to a printer, so it's not always going to be easy for that. I wanted just to quickly, before we start, just show you a little trick. So if you don't have a printer and you found a design that you'd like on a screen or on a computer, on your phone, there is still a way that you can actually transfer that design without having to draw it freehand. So what I'd like to show you just very quickly is if you grab some tracing paper, I've got some tracing paper available to you. Good morning Victoria, nice to see you. And you've got your design. That design might be on a screen, it might be on a magazine or something else that your book that you don't want to actually cut out to be able to go through. You grab a piece of tracing paper and put the tracing paper nice and securely on top of the design that you're working on. Lovely. Hopefully you can all see that. So a really quick way of actually transferring a design over with some tracing paper, whether that is on a laptop screen or a computer screen or your phone, is to actually get a pencil, get some tracing paper, and just quickly draw around the design. I'm not going to do the full thing, I just wanted to give you a quick demonstration on how this would work. So if you cover it, all the black bits of your detail, like so, you will end up with, I don't know if you can see that properly, with that on there. So to then transfer it onto a piece of paper or a piece of card, all you need to do is turn the paper back upside down, grab your pencil again, and just literally scribble all the way over the top of the design that you had, holding the paper firmly down, like so. And what that does, it transfers all your graphite from your paper, or from one side of the tracing paper, onto the new piece of card. I'm hoping you can all see that. I can't really see the screen where the angle is. Yeah, you can. So that then transfers onto that. So if you then transfer that into a piece of card, then you've got your stencil ready to cut. You'll notice it will be a mirror image of what you've traced, but by the time you then cut that out, like so, you can actually decide that you can have it that way or that way. So that's a really quick just tip on how to, if you don't have a printer or if you want to copy a design quickly and simply with a bit of tracing paper, all you need to do is just trace it, copy over the top and transfer it onto there. So as you can see, I've already chosen mine. I printed this one off of the internet. I've cut it out in preparation. It shouldn't take you too long to cut out, but you don't have to go with the fairy theme. You could quite easily go with some sort of landscape. I printed a couple off in preparation. I quite like the birds, bits like that. But hopefully once that's all been done, you'll be able to have a cut-out stencil for you to start using. I'm hoping today is the day that I don't actually got the camera. Just quickly take it down. So once you have your stencil cut out, like so, going to the first step is to actually get that onto the inside of your jar. So the idea with these lanterns is that you can either use tea lights or like these, the battery tea lights, which is a lot safer from a fire perspective. They're really cheap to buy. I think I've got a pack of 24 for a couple of pounds off the internet, and obviously makes it a lot safer. And you can put more in there to make the light brighter or not. So your basic premise is that that's going to sit on the inside and make the silhouette to make it look like, in this case, you've got a fairy in the jar. So your first step, like I say, to stick that into the jar. If you've got any markings or any indentations, embossing on the jars, you want to stick it on the opposite side. So if, for example, there was you sometimes get some dots or some wording on the jars. Make sure that where you're sticking your stencil goes on the clear side. You can use PVA for this, or super glue. I'm going to be using a spray fix adhesive for time this morning, but whatever glue you are using, just make sure that once you've stuck it in, you hold it there in place. So I'm just going to give this a quick spray. The good thing with this adhesive is that it doesn't actually warp the plastic, warp the paper. It doesn't make it too damp. So you can stick that in and stick it nice and firm. Use the end of a paintbrush. Stick it nice and firmly, he says. Doesn't seem to be sticking particularly well. There you go, nice and firmly onto the glass. As you can see, it's sticking to my fingers more than it is the glass at the moment. key is with the spray adhesives as well is to make sure that you wait just a moment until the glue actually goes tacky. Once it's tacky, you should be able to stick it in where you want it. It is just sticking to my finger at the moment. So I'll use the end of this paintbrush just to pop it in, that's better. Stick it nice and firmly to the side of the glass, like so. So if you use super glue or anything like that, that would probably be better than this spray adhesive. This is repositional stuff, repositionable glue that I'm using. But it seems to be sticking far better to my paintbrush and my finger than it is actually the glass. Apologies if you're watching, it's a bit of a comedy of errors this morning. That's better. See that down nice and tight. It's stuck to my finger again. Oh dear. Right, it's amusing if nothing else. Right. That's better. There we go, that's how I wanted it. So it's stuck in nicely, so it looks like by the time we finish this it will be, looks like there's a fairy sitting inside of the glass. So to do the outside, what we're going to need to do is grab yourself some PVA glue and a paintbrush. I'm just going to put a bit more glue in there, and on a nice flat clean surface, I'm using a nice sheet of paper. Make sure I don't get anything. You want to start dabbing your glue and painting your glue all over the outside of this glass. Just do the, of your jar rather than your glass. So you want to get all around the edges, all the way at the top, into all the little creases. Like so. So you don't want to do the whole way round all at once. Otherwise you're going to end up sticking it to the table. So let's get that first bit. And then you're going to need some tissue paper. I've decided to do white for mine. Quickly. I've got some white tissue paper here, which we're going to carefully lay down onto your jar. It probably works best, or it will work best, if you actually cut your tissue paper to a rough side that you'll need first. You can overlap it as you go round, but the more layers of paper you've got, the less light will shine through. So I'm going to just aim at having one layer on the outside. Now tissue paper by its nature is really quite delicate, so rather than sticking it down with your fingers, if you grab your paintbrush with your glue on and actually just use that to gently brush your tissue paper into place, being careful not to touch the tissue paper. When I tried this in a practice, I did manage to rip a few holes in the paper where it actually got stuck to my fingers, which seems to be a theme of the day in terms of the stencil and the thing. But don't worry too much if you do make a few little rips accidentally, because we can fix them later by putting some glitter on, and that just adds to the effect. Like I say, try and get it as nice and flat as possible. Don't worry too much about any creases. Like I say, we can cover them up afterwards. Just want to keep going all the way round, lifting up gently, holding it from the top. the glue around on the other side as well, so we've got something to stick all the way round. Okay, and then, like I say, brush it round and stick it down with your paintbrush, not your fingers. So it's likely to rip otherwise. And you notice you'll get to a bit where you've got a bit of an overlap at the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim one of these pieces of paper up into a line, like so. Make sure that's all stuck down firmly. And so it doesn't matter about getting the glue on the outside, it will all dry the same, and it just holds it, makes it stick down nicely. And again, just stick a bit of glue on the outside there, and stick that side to it. And just trim off any excess. So you'll notice I started from the front, so that any overlap or any bits where the light's not going to shine through as much is not over your stencil. It'll be on the back of the jar, so your stencil is still there at the front. And just trim off the bottom. So you've got a nice even edge, and pop some glue on there as well to stick that down. Just brush it all the way through, like so. Right, there we have it. So that we're using PVA glue will probably take about an hour or so to actually dry fully. So once you've got to this stage, you'll want to turn it upside down where I've had my finger inside the jar. I've managed to stick myself to the stencil again. I've pulled the stencil off, which is ever so slightly annoying. That's how I can then reposition it afterwards. If you are using super glue or PVA, obviously wait for it to dry before you start doing the rest of your design. That's my top tip of the day, otherwise you're going to end up sticking to yourself. There we go. Oops, again. Ah, there. There we go. Right. So, what you want to do is to let it dry, rather than putting it down on its base like I just have, because you end up ripping the paper. Turn it upside down carefully and let it to dry upside down for about an hour, hour and a half, until it's nice and dry, at which point you'll have a nice design like this one, which is one I prepared earlier. It's just about dry. I did this about, I don't know, about an hour ago. Stuck it on, so it's still drying. I wanted to do a demonstration because, as you can see, there are some creases on there. And just wanted to show you how we would go about covering them. So again, with a nice thick layer of glue on the outside, if you go all the way around the bottom edge first, like so. Go up in different places. Be careful not to, what I'm doing here is covering any issued bits. Like you see earlier, I've ripped this bit of tissue paper, so I want to cover that bit over, and any big creases. But be careful not to cover over. If you can imagine that the stencil's here, don't cover over too much where the stencil is, because you're going to be blocking how much light's coming through and possibly ruining the effect a little bit. So, once you've got that bit of glue on, you're happy with where you're putting it, grab some glitter. I'm using white glitter, which I'm then just going to shake. Oops. I'm just going to shake over the glue that I've just put on. But I think this is iridescent glitter because there's bits of pink and all sorts in there. You stick that on. And if you do that round the top as well, you get a nice frosted effect. But when the light's in there, actually you're going to have to imagine there's a stencil in there as well. Gives a nice effect. I don't know if you can see that very well. With the light shining through, obviously works better in darker environments. I'm going to pop that around the top as well and put some glitter on there. Just adds to the whimsy, nice whimsical effect, fairy tale, little lantern, which I'm hoping will probably be used as a little night light for my daughter. If anyone's watching that works over at Rochford, don't worry, I will be clearing up this glitter after I'm finished. I've got no doubt that I'll probably end up sparkling for the rest of the day after using this. So there you have it. So like I say, once that's dry, you can imagine that there's a fairy silhouette or a silhouette of whatever. You could do castles, you could do a scene, like a city scene. What I liked most about this is with the fairies, actually it looks like you've caught a little fairy in a jar. And you can also do little embellishments once you have finished and it's all dry. I was planning on putting some twine around the top, which also will cover up any creases and anything else that you might not be happy with, and just adds a little bit of an effect. If you've got any other sort of little craft embellishments like little wooden leaves or berries or anything like that, really just adds to that lovely effect. So I'm going to tie some twine around the top, like so. Leave enough I can tie a bow. Like so. Hopefully you can get a good idea of what that's going to look like. This, like I say, isn't quite dry yet. It will go a little bit more see-through once the glue's actually dried through and stuck the paper to the card. Like I say, with the I'll try and give it a bit of an effect without the stencil, just to show you exactly what it's going to look like. Like that, but obviously without the white paper through, it will look like a little silhouette of something sat in your glass. Okay, so that's your first one. The second one I was going to do very, very quickly was for another effect. If you're not keen on glue, you're not keen on tissue paper, and you wanted a similar sort of thing, you can actually get your glass and do a silhouette effect with spray paint and black markers. So for this, I had some spray paint in the loft, which I actually made some of these lanterns a good few years ago actually. I think it was about 3-4 years ago. I made some of these lanterns for Christmas gifts with a little city scene and Santa's sleigh flying across. This is actually one that I painted about 3-4 years ago and didn't end up using. But to do these ones, obviously in a nice well ventilated space, you get your spray paint, and rather than when you'd usually be spray painting you want a nice even coat, what you want to do is just really lightly spray it from all angles, so actually you're not covering it with paint. You want to still let some light through. That's a very, very, very light coat, and if you look at it from the inside, Right there, you can probably see that actually it's a speckled effect rather than actually a clear coating of paint. So, like I say, just hold it from about 20 centimetres high up there and just spray it very lightly once over. Like I say, that gives you that effect. So you can still see the light through it. Again, with these, you can go on the internet, there's loads and loads of ideas for different things. If you Google or go on whatever search engine you do use, silhouettes or lantern silhouettes, you'll probably find all sorts of designs that you can use. I decided I'd go with this one because I thought it was quite a nice effect. You can cut that out, size it so it's roughly the same size as your jar, like so, and pop it inside. So from there, you want to grab a black marker. That's not the marker I'm looking for, it's my other black marker. And with your marker on top of the paint, so it will stick really nicely. It's not going to rub off. You go all the way around. If you stick that on with a bit of when I did these originally, I think I did them with a paint marker. If you get some masking tape or some blue tack, in fact I've got some blue tack, I will grab some of that. There we go. Pop some blue tack on your corners. That will stop it from moving around while you're drawing your design on. Otherwise it might go a little bit skew-with. It's nice and tight as possible, so you can do it in the corners. Also I'm going to put one in the middle so it's nice and tight to the inside of the jar. So you can use masking tape or sellotape for that as well. Whatever you've got to hand, just to keep that in place. So once you're happy with the positioning, so all you have to do is literally just go round and trace that shape. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the outline first and then go round afterwards and fill in the black of the silhouette. It's best I'm looking down directly at. As you can see, I'm doing it from an angle, so from where you're looking, it might look like I'm actually not following the lines, but I'm following the lines in terms of where my eye line is. If you do it from directly above, you'll make sure that you'll cover all of your design. The lamppost. So you can use whatever designs you want for these. There's so many available, and if you don't have a printer and you want to transfer an image on, that tip that I showed you earlier with the tracing paper is actually something I do quite regularly because I don't have a printer at home. But a bit of blue tack, a bit of the tracing paper onto a computer screen, actually very simple, just to trace the outline, turn the tracing paper upside down and transfer that onto paper. It's really time saving, you don't need to rely on your freehand drawing to get a design that you really want for any of your craft projects. So once you've got your outline, just go very quickly, go ahead and just fill in the gap. this is actually like I said earlier, I would normally use a paint marker for this, because what you really want is something that's nice and thick colour, so that when you put your light in, this is going to create a nice silhouette effect and not let light through. Black markers might not be as good for that. You can also use black paint if you wanted to paint it on. That would work just as well. I'm using the marker, in fact I'm using a fabric marker, just for the time constraint today, just to give you an idea of what the technique is and just the quickest way of doing it. And so with permanent markers and pens, generally won't stick to glass, but as long as you've got a nice even coat of paint, spray paint on top, which creates your background, it should stick quite nicely onto that. Just be careful when you're first putting it on, because it will run off until the ink has actually dried. You can use some fixative if not, like this art adhesive. You can get the same sort of type, which actually works as a sealer. So you can spray a little bit on top of that, like a bit of a lacquer or a varnish, just to protect that from coming off afterwards. I'm going to leave this one as is. Now the key is when you're doing these silhouettes as well, if you pick a silhouette that has a nice bit of black shadow on the bottom bit, because that's where your light will sit behind, otherwise you're likely to see the light or the tea light itself shining through. Once you take your stencil out, you might see that there's a couple of sections that you may have missed out. You just fill that in to make a nice solid black colour. Another tip for this as well is if you're not wanting to use, if you haven't got any black, I think in one of my last videos for the stained glass windows, I PVA glue, which actually would work really well for this, and also give it a bit of a raised effect for the light to sit against. So you end up with a finished design a little bit similar to that. Pop your light in. So it's hard to see when it's quite light outside, but that makes a nice real sort of silhouette effect against the back there. Don't have to do it blue. I've seen these done with purples. Purples look really nice and actually disperses the light really well, to make it look a bit like a sunset. And one of the other little tips that I've got on that is actually using a correction pen like this, so you can actually add on some little details. So what I wanted to do with this one is actually just fill in some highlights on the lantern or on the lamp silhouette. So you can actually add some white, put some stars in the corner, like little dots for stars, just to have some little embellishments, and just make it your own afterwards. You see how that one's drying. The fairy one's getting there. I don't want to touch it too much, but also really wanted to show you with the light inside. Let's just try that quickly. Pop that in. There we go. So you get a nice effect on how that would look once it's actually dried. Once you put the glitter on the bottom like we did with that one, that'll give you a really nice little whimsical effect. With some twine around the top, like I say, you can add some embellishments like berries, little wooden leaves, a bit of a nature effect. And if you have used something with a lid, you can always pop the lid on as well. Yeah, there we go. Two different types of lanterns. Very easy to make, quite fun to do, and also make really nice gifts as well. I'm a big fan of homemade gifts, especially at Christmas. So, yeah, it's a nice little effect, especially if you've got a garden at the moment. These also make nice little lights for the gardens. If you're using them outside, you could use real candles rather than these battery operated candles. Maybe get some citronella candles to keep the mosquitoes and bugs away as well. So dual use, nice bit of decoration, but also functional as well for a bit of night light. So that's it from me today. Thank you for watching. I'm just going to pop through, I'm going to turn the camera around and just have a look on some comments, see if I've missed anyone. A few people watching. Thank you for joining me today. And so it's been a pleasure, and I'll see you again next week. Thanks very much.